Welcome to the Wally Show Aftercast, all the stuff we did not get to during the course of the show today. Gavin not here today on the show. He was in a bad car accident, but he's okay. Fortunately, him and his wife were miracle fine. Their car was hit from behind and actually flipped on its side, Flintstone mobile style, which was crazy. Let him tell you about it. And I think we'll probably do a segment on the show tomorrow about narrowly escaping death and angels protecting you or something like that. But when I saw the pictures, I was like, at first I thought, is he being dramatic? Because somebody else was texting me about it, like one of the pastors at our church where his wife works. And I'm like, are they being dramatic when they said the car flipped? And then I saw the pictures, like, holy cow. Like he literally had to crawl out of the car from the top because it was on its side. And I don't know if you've seen Gavin or not. Agility, not his specialty. And so that wouldn't be difficult.
And his wife was with him, and she's pregnant. And so, you know, it was scary to think, that could have hurt the baby. But
absolutely.
Thankfully, everyone is okay.
They've been through so much with the pregnancy, and like she has these medical things going on where she keeps passing out and falling and stuff. It's like, oh my goodness. I know they're going to be ready just to be done when this, after this parenting is going to be easy. They'll be like, oh, this is a breeze. So I'm sure we'll post a picture of that tomorrow when he gets back. I'll let him do it. And then we'll talk at more length about that kind of stuff. For me, I was at a wedding this weekend, and it was great. It was my nephew getting married. We love his wife. She's so great. His family got to come. Her family got to come into town. They're from Brazil, and she hadn't seen her parents in 6 years.
Wow.
And so they got to come here. Her mom is going to stay for 6 months.
Wow.
Her dad has to go back.
Where's she staying?
This is a weird story. She's an au pair, like a nanny, basically. And the girl that married my nephew. And so she had, but then she had recently just transferred out of this family she was working for to do something else. Well, her mom is coming in. This family speaks Portuguese, of all things. Her mom is coming in, so she's going to live with this family and basically
become the nanny.
Be the nanny for 6 months.
So then what is your nephew's wife going to do for a living?
She moved on to another job, and I think it's another family kind of thing. And so, and the family she used to nanny for, that I know this is getting confusing, that the mom is going to, are the people that introduced my nephew and this girl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. It was neat to hear all the stories at the wedding and everything. But we had been in Portugal recently, and I only remembered obrigado, which means thank you. Obrigado. And so when I saw her dad and her mom, and they said something, and I said obrigado, and they're like, oh, and then they start speaking. I'm like, no, sorry, that's all I had. That was it. And so he made this really great speech. It was really touching, like it was being translated by one of the girls in the wedding party. But it was really good. And I wanted to tell him that, but there was no one around. And so I went, hey, Siri, how do you say, I really liked your speech, it was great, she's going to start doing it now, in Portuguese. And so it was so cool because it typed it all up there. And so I just kind of walked over to him, and I'm like, I think I said hola, which I know is Spanish.
Hola, ¿dónde está?
Yeah, and then showed him the thing, and he was like, oh, man, he like did his hand over his heart. Like it meant a lot to him.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like a cool moment. But then like the language thing was such a mess for me. I'm at a restaurant for the rehearsal dinner on Friday night. The waiter was one of the best waiters that we've ever had, okay? It's so great. But he was definitely Spanish of some sort. I don't know. I don't know where he originally, where his family was from. I'm sure he was probably born in the States. I have no idea. But he had an accent, and he was definitely Latino. And so I had just gotten back from El Salvador. So when you travel and you get like a language stuck in your head, when you come back for a week or so, you still are speaking that language sometimes to people.
Are you?
You don't find yourself doing that?
No.
It happens to me every time I get back. And so, like, when the guy came over and he's like, hey, we normally do things this way. I'm going to hook you up. I got you. And I'm like, gracias. I'm like, oh, that feels so bad. It feels so bad. And I didn't mean to. I was in that mindset.
Did you apologize?
No, I didn't. I just went out of my way to be super nice the rest of the night. And I was taking the temperature. Like if he was standoffish, then I was like, oh, I messed up. I'll say something. But he was like super cool. So.
He's just hoping for a good tip.
Yeah, well, he got it. So all of that to say, so I got a 6-hour drive back, 6.5-hour drive back. And we're listening to one of the podcasts I listened to. I think it was Matt Walsh. And Matt Walsh was going on about something with the college protests going on. And,
why are you listening to this? It makes you infuriated.
Why are you asking me that?
And you're behind the wheel. It's the last thing you should be listening to.
I need to breathe for a second.
I understand.
Because you are my work wife. My wife said the exact same thing to me. Like, you guys, sometimes I think it's a conspiracy, the two of you against me. Like, she literally said the exact same thing. She's like, why do you listen to this? Because I started ranting like I'm doing a show. Yeah. I started ranting in the car to her. And she's like, I don't understand. Why do you listen to this if it makes you this mad? And I said, and so then I had to explain. Then I was getting frustrated with her. And
why? Why are you getting frustrated at her? Is it because you were already frustrated about the thing you were listening to, and that bled into your marriage?
Just like you, just like women. And you say, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. That's all I wanted. I wanted her to listen, not to ask me why I'm angry or to then take it that next step to, you have so much anger in there. That's a problem. You got to work on that or whatever.
You just wanted to verbally.
Yes. And that's what I that's what I finally explained to her. I said, look, I'm an external processor. I'm an 8. I'm going to be very passionate and very vocal right out of the gate. But then I calm down and I rationally go and I problem solve. But I have to get this out because what happens is when I see these college campuses at Harvard University, these knuckleheaded college protesters took down the American flag and hung a Palestinian flag. Every one of them, without exception, should be instantly terminated from that school. Anyone that is supporting them, terminated from that school. That is sedition. You've crossed the line from it's a nice protest to sedition. You are gone. And I was so mad at this. And
what about freedom of speech?
You have freedom of speech. That's what makes this country great. But here's the thing. In this freedom of speech, all of these colleges that are letting this happen are cowards. Their staff are cowards. Their administration are cowards because they have all the wherewithal to stop it. If you look at FSU tried this nonsense. FSU in a Florida state with Ron DeSantis is like, we're not doing this crud. So FSU walks through and they say, look, just so you know, this breaks the laws of protesting here on the campus. You have the right to say whatever you want. You have that right, but it has to be done like this. You can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. But if you do this, you can still protest. And so they gave him a leaflet, a flyer that said everything that you can do, everything you can't do. They never once said anything about the politics of it. They just said, if it's a protest, regardless of what it is, this is how. If you do not do this, guess what? You are being instantly suspended. If you are a teacher, guess what? You are being fired. And so here it is. And guess what? That protest dispersed, because when you actually have consequences for your behavior and someone is actually going to do something, you rethink it. So you got all these Ivy League puke fest people that are there right now and their parents are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for their education and they're whining about free Palestine. And if you're a parent, you're going, wait, do you even know why you're protesting? The lunacy of what they are asking for and why they're protesting, they don't even know most of them. I've saw people going up to them and asking them, hey, explain this to me. We can't talk to you. Oh, so now you've been silenced? So you want to be this big thing and have free speech, but now you're silenced by the people that are running this thing? So basically, you are just a puppet in their game, and you then are being silenced. You gave up your right to free speech, the thing that you were fighting for. You're ignorant. And so I'm going off about this because it's so frustrating to see that happen in this day and age. And so I'm going on and on about that like I am now because it makes me mad. But then I was trying to explain to my wife, I'm like, here's the thing. I'm so frustrated at our world and I cannot change it. I am powerless to change this kind of thing. Like I wish I could. If I could go in there and drag kids out of there by their hair, I would, because I think it's that repulsive to me. The fact that they are chanting anti-Semitic things and they think they're doing a good thing. I think some of them are really good-hearted, like they don't want to see the genocide of people. They keep calling it genocide, but it's not. But they're wrong in that. But they don't want to see innocent people hurt. That at its core is a good thing. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing. I agree with that. But here's what they've all missed in this whole thing, because they keep going, the Zionist genocide, blah 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 blah. You're killing innocent Palestinians. What they failed to account for is they have aligned themselves with a terrorist organization. They have aligned themselves with a group of people who, instead of just sitting on their hands that day, a few months ago, almost, 4 months ago now, maybe even longer, instead of sitting on their hands that day or doing something with rocks or doing whatever they do, they decided to infiltrate a country, commit mass murder, and of just horrific things. They decided to willfully do that. And then they got whooped. It's like, had they stayed at home that day, none of this would be happening. Do you think Israel would have attacked Gaza just for no reason? No. What happened is it's like a burglar that breaks into a house and then like the owner whoops him and then all of a sudden he sues the owner. That's exactly what this is. And the fact that we are giving credibility to this is what really, really makes me furious. I did see a post in the New York Times that I thought was fascinating. This is the first time I've ever seen anyone say this, because they always talk about pro-Palestine, and they call the Jews Zionists and all this nonsense. But the New York Post actually said, instead of pro-Palestine at Harvard, they said anti-Israel. That is really important, because pro-Palestine means you're pro-Palestine and you're trying to do something, affect change or whatever. But calling them anti-Israel, which is what they are, is fascinating, and from the New York Post is shocking. But that's what they should be being called. They're anti-Israel. They're not pro-Palestine. They're anti-Israel.
But didn't they kill innocent people too?
Yes,
well,
and they started it.
Well, then why are these kids still on Palestine's side? Because
what happened is they're setting aside the 1,300 that were murdered and the horrific things, and they're setting that aside and the hostages, because the scope of it has gotten bigger. Like with 32,000 or whatever the number is now, people being killed, which some are innocent, some are not. But the reality of it is they're looking at the scope saying this isn't even. Well, the problem is, what you fail to realize is what Hamas did was an act of war. This is war. War is ugly. War hurts people. War is disgusting. It's bad. I hate it. I don't think it should ever happen. I wish we could get along. But the reality is, you have picked the wrong side of history to be on. When a terrorist organization applauds you for your work, if you're getting, in essence, an award or a pat on the back from a terrorist organization, you have completely lost your way. And when colleges don't stand up to people and say, you can protest, that's fine, but here are the rules. If you stay in the rules, you're fine. If you don't, you're gone. Mm-hmm. And because here's the thing, too. You, in a school, you know how hard it is once someone has clicked a button on you to get something unclicked? It's a nightmare. So basically you go suspended. I would just walk through all the campuses and I would get everybody's name. And I would, if I was the administration, go, thank you for your protest. We really appreciate you. By the way, you're being suspended today. Now you're trespassing. You're going to be arrested, all that good stuff. And you're not going to graduate. But we really appreciate your freedom of speech. Done. And that's it. But they're not doing that. And so anyway, all of this leads to my wife trying to figure out why I'm so mad. I'm mad because I think for me, I have to have people know that I'm mad, because I think it's lunacy and I feel completely helpless to change it or to stop it. And that's what really frustrates me. So I pop off to release. I'm like, what you don't understand, Marty, is that this is my release, is the yelling about it is the thing that actually makes me feel better, because I've gotten it out, because it's like this demon inside of me that's eating me alive. When things aren't right, I'm very black and white. When I feel things aren't right and I can't change it, there's a conflict inside of me, a consternation, if you will, that goes nuts, and it turns into constipation. No, sadly, it turns to the other. I wish it was constipation. But I'm so conflicted in there, and I just have to get it out of my system. And when I explained it to her that way, sure, we still talked for about another hour and a half about it. But when I explained it to her that way, she started to understand it a little bit more of why I pop off like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's actually where she's like, it just makes you angry. I'm like, it actually feels better. It's like yell therapy. Like there are therapists.
Rage rooms.
Yeah, and scream therapy where they go and scream. There's a reason. For some people, it's cathartic for them to get that out. They have to. And for other people, they don't need that. And God bless you. You're lucky. So I'm not filled with rage. The rage glass is half full or half empty.
I see where Marty's coming from because I think she thinks similar to me.
Right.
In that when it comes to something that makes us angry, we don't want to, let me think. Oh, okay. For instance, we talked about last week how it makes me angry when some guy has a loud car.
Right, and you get really mad.
So the equivalent to me would be, if I were you, I would be sitting there listening to a podcast about how guys are bragging about their loud cars, and it's constant roaring of those spoilers or whatever they're called. Okay,
mufflers.
To me, that's the equivalent of it. Why would I do that to myself? Why would I purposefully look for a podcast about a subject that I hate? And then that's going to just make me even madder about the problem, and there's nothing I can do about it, so I'd rather just stay away from it.
If this was me searching for a podcast on two-factor authentication to get mad,
yes,
absolutely, that's crazy. I get it. But this is about things that directly affect our country and that directly affect how we should be voting. These are things that directly affect the state of where we're at, which is kind of what we do, though. We comment on the world around us. And so I feel the responsibility to be as educated as I can on the different things that are going on in the world. So that's why I seek that out.
And I think that is good. I think we need to have people like you that feel that way. And I think we also need people that feel like Marty and I do. Also, I smile because you say, it's the scream therapy or whatever. So Marty's probably like this with me. We don't really technically speak our minds.
Right.
It's all inside, okay?
Right.
And you have to read between the lines. That's not fair.
Right.
I admit that. But you speak off the cuff. You just say it and then you apologize later.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't want to say anything. I need time to process what I'm thinking because to me in my head it's just this big jumbled mess and I can't even put words to it. And I also don't want to put words to it because I'm afraid that I'll say something that I'll later regret and I can't take back.
Right.
Where you don't seem to have that.
Well, believe it or not, there are things that I have said in the past that I do regret. I know that there is a cost of the way that I am, and that cost is I've had to learn how to get good at apologizing as well. But there are definitely things that I've said in the past to people that I regretted and was like, oh, man. And I've talked about some of them on the show, like one lady that I just trounced one day in an argument on the show. I went home. I said, dadgummit, I should have handled that so much better. And I actually talked about it, like wanting to. I apologized on the air right after that break.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I missed the mark. So I do feel remorse.
But it could also be the difference between men and women, where we know, like Marty and I know, as women, we can be vengeful. We don't forget.
Oh no.
Like an elephant, we don't forget.
Absolutely.
Whereas maybe as a man, for you, maybe you're like, once you say you're sorry, it's over and
that's
done
it.
with.
You got it out.
It's not. But that's not the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so all that to say, that's why, to me, how my personality is, how counseling is beneficial. So, for instance, if you went to a counselor and you thought like me, you would hear all these podcasts. It would make you very angry. You would go to a counselor and you'd say, bah! And you'd say exactly what you're saying right now, and then you'd feel better.
And that's why, instead of a counselor, I have a podcast and I have a radio show, because that's where I get to exercise that.
You know what you need to do?
What's that?
Because all the young people, plus you, are on TikTok.
Yeah.
You need to make something. You know that woman that went viral because she got catfished by some guy, and I went to part 51, part 52.
Yeah, that was so great.
That's what you need to do. So you need to get them hooked in on something, but then quickly change the topic, and then you could be like the dad that's sharing with everyone the real truth behind the Palestine and the Israel situation.
There is,
but speak to him like a dad.
It's funny because there is a guy that I love.
Not like they're hating, but speak to him like a dad.
There's a guy that I love his take on TikTok, and he's so super matter of fact. He uses a lot of foul language, which isn't good, but he's so knowledgeable and he's so matter of fact. about it, and he's got like this beard, and he looks like someone that would whoop you if you disagreed with him. Like, I would not tangle with this dude. But then it's disarming because he's super intelligent, and he lays out his case point by point by point, and is really, really well done. And so like I like people in that space because I feel like I learn from them, you know, and I do. I like the Ben Shapiro's, I like the Matt Walsh, because they're both well researched. Now I know their bent is on the right. I know that. And you can say, well, stop listening to just people that agree with you.
But
well,
we're so surrounded by people that are bent towards the left.
Right. And so for me, I'm because my wife brought this up. She's like, why do you listen to things like that? Because it just entrenches that in you. I said, well, the reason she's like, isn't there something that's more balanced? It's both sides. There's this thing called like both side news or every side news, where you basically, it says the left, right, and then a middle version of it. But you're in essence reading three things, you know, and I'm like, I hate to read. And so for me, I understand and I accept that the podcasts I listen to are going to be right on the right side. But I only listen to ones that are super well researched so I can trust the information, because I know there's misinformation on both sides, and I don't want to ever be misinformed and going off on a tangent, which I do sometimes. Sometimes I'm wrong. But like, so for me, that's why I listen to those few that I respect, and because I know they do their homework. And it does, like their viewpoints, probably 90% of them line with mine. But even with them, like Matt Walsh was going off on something the other day, and I was like, fast forward, because I think he's just trying to be inflammatory. Or someone gave him a hot take. You got to have a hot take on this, and he went to the far right wing, and I'm like, that really wasn't necessary, you know. And so I have it balanced in my head. I'm not a pawn or a puppet. Yeah, I'm not a pawn or a puppet, but I do believe you should go to people, even if you're on the left side, you go to people that actually do their research, you know, and we'll be honest. Like, I love when like Ben Shapiro's like, yeah, I don't like this guy because of this, but this is what's the truth in this, you know, when he's talking about his own party. Well,
it sounds like FSU has handled it very well, and other colleges
Austin
should
was
take them up on that.
I love the one where protesters in handcuffs and they fall down and the cop just picks them up like, ow, you're hurting me, ow, and he doesn't care, just walking with them like, yeah, this is what you get.
You need to be treated that way.
Absolutely. So anyway, what do you got, Lady Rock? We're running short on time. We won't get to the podcast question. I did. I'm sorry. But I wanted to hear what you had to say because I value your opinion.
Thank you. So Taylor Swift's new album, The Tortured Poets Department. Imagine her being drug out by her feet. Ow, I'm being tortured.
I would love that.
Well, this is an interesting data on it. They say that this new album has a 5,600% increase in profanity compared to her first album, when she was like teardrops on her guitar and Tim McGraw and all this stuff. So do you think she's growing up now, and that's what she needs to do to grow up? This is her version of like the Disney Channel kids, where they like go out and they do something crazy.
It's her Miley moment.
This is her. Yeah, they all have to do this.
I said a cuss word. Oh no.
She swears a total of 57 times.
Wow, that's a big departure for her squeaky clean image.
Yep. So in recent years, her use of profanity seems to double with each album. So someone on Reddit joked that if that trend continues, she'll be using foul language 24,000 times 5 albums from now.
Oh, so nice.
5 albums from now, it's going to be like a rap album.
She's going to give Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit a run for his money on the
Somebody
language.
Even took the time to make a chart of all this data where they used like colors and stuff to show how her albums have progressed.
Fascinating.
Progressed with the use of language.
I think what it is for her, she's somebody that had the kid teeny bopper thing, and then is like, I want to be an adult, and then so in her version of her being her true honest self, and she's talking about life and adult issues, then so there I'm frustrated, so I'm going to swear about them, blah, blah, blah. But even in my rants to my wife, as mad as I was, I swore once. But once out of an hour and a half was pretty good. So
here's the thing you'll learn about Wally. He sets the bar for himself really low.
Absolutely.
Whereas others might set the bar high for themselves.
Nope.
No, he's got that inner person that's just like, did all right.
Easier to step over than crawl under. So like I think this is her version of going, I'm an adult, I'm going to process adult things, I'm going to do it in a way that my contemporaries are in this day and age. But like if you look at comedy, and I know I always bring him up, Nate Bargatze, he chooses words deliberately to not swear. Like,
and I respect him. And look how well he's done.
It makes him more impactful. Like
I agree.
think because somebody asked him about it one time, and he was like, I just find that the swearing is the easy or the lazy way, and if I work hard enough to find a different word, it actually is funnier. And he's absolutely right. And so for her saying these things, if you looked that extra time to find the extra word that's funny. Like think of that. Think about when we do the radio show or the podcast. Oh my gosh, the amount of like on the radio show, there was a time where you couldn't even say, "Oh, that's a pain in the butt." Like people would go, I would spend hours doing email from people saying you said butt. One time I said the word asinine. I'm like that is asinine. And this moron emailed me. You said asinine. I said, yes, I did. It's in the dictionary, sir. It's something crazy. It has the word ass in it. Sir, it's part of the word, yes, but that is not the whole word. It is asinine. Like this conversation. I cannot believe I'm having this conversation with an adult, sir.
Yes. I'll never forget the one where someone called in and they were like, how dare you play a song by Toby Mac where he cusses?
Yes.
I'm like, wait a minute. Toby Mac cusses? Like, read the room.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty... It's
not
safe
to
assume that that's not the case. There is a better assumption that you misheard it.
Yeah. Well, she was so insistent. And you're like, okay, look. How many times have we cussed on this show or artists cuss? Never, you know? And it's like for your first assumption to be, for your first assumption to be that something was horribly amiss is wrong, you know? When we've had history with people, you know, that is definitely frustrating.
You and me got a whole lot of history.
Speaking of that, we're history unless you have any birthdays.
I do. We need to catch up a little bit.
Okay.
So we've got Mom and Dad want to wish Jackson a happy birthday. He celebrated one on the 25th. Said Jack is our mini.
Jack. I like that.
Is our mini video gamer. Today he is 6 years old, and we are excited to play Mario with him to celebrate.
See, I love doing that. Playing video games. Everyone's like, oh, video games are so bad. Like, I played video games with my daughter, and it brought us together.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Audrey wants to wish her best friend, Anna, a happy birthday. She said Anna is turning 16 years old, and she's incredible.
Nice.
Her friendship is a treasure, and it means everything to me.
Fantastic.
Melissa, the Wally Show historian, she celebrated a birthday on the 26th.
Happy birthday.
And she turned 27, said she's been listening since she was 18. Woof.
Nice.
Katie Mal wants to wish Ali, a.k.a. Twinkle Time, a happy birthday. Ali has been a good friend of mine and was one of my favorite girl groups back in the day.
It's Allie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's from a Radio Disney band.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
And then Renee is celebrating a birthday today. She said, I love the Wally Show, started listening through the pandemic times, and enjoy laughing along with the DJs, especially when Wally gets on a dramatic, wild rant.
We did it today. I'm sorry.
No, there are things that need to be said, because if we don't have people like you that are saying those things, then we'll just be pushovers.
Well, when my wife tried to shame me in the car about the whole conversation, because I think that's what she was going for a little bit, like, you're an adult, why are you like this? Mm-hmm. And I told her, I said, honey, believe it or not, like, people listen to this Aftercast, millions and millions and millions of downloads for this dumb thing, and a lot of them listen because of the way I'm wired. So to tell me to be something different is going to affect you. You will not eat because I will lose this job and you will no longer eat. So if you'd like that.
Okay, well. Okay.
I guess that was dramatic.
Not a little, but okay. But let's say that listening ship just went down, spiraled down, okay? Yes. But hey, God made you the way you are. Yeah. Would you change the way God made you, or would you keep going? Well,
I have to alter part of my behavior for the on-air part more so than here. But yeah, if all of a sudden we got research back that said this isn't why people come to you, then I would alter. I would alter the content that I do. I would still be me and I'd find an outlet for it, but I would alter the content. We did that with the show when we first moved to mornings years ago. We used to be way more edgy at night and stuff like that. And then we moved to mornings. I'm like, okay, we're going to lose audience and we're not going to be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish by having a small audience and no one listening. And so I made a strategic decision on how to approach the show and what kind of content. And that's one I picked instead of being a pundit on the air, that I wanted to focus on being funny, and strip a lot of the politics out of it. And it's worked. I mean, we just had killer ratings in Dallas. Like, we beat like a legendary show there and stuff. And so thank you. If you listen in Dallas and you're a potty, tell your friends, because we're on the rise there and in West Palm and other places. So thank you.
Just tell them to text TWS to 91979. Also, if you're not part of our potty group on Facebook, that's where we're sharing all the behind the scenes stuff as well. You can join that when you text PODDIE, potty, to 91979, and you can join our potty group.
There you go. We love you, and we thank you for listening, and that's going to do it for today. Thanks for being a potty.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.